In this video, I'm going to walk through the answers to questions 41 through 50 on the chapter review. So in this first section it says solve each one-step equation and write the property you use for each step. So number 41 says -9 equals b plus 2. So again, the goal of solving equations is to isolate the variable. So this variable b right here, we need to get all by itself. So right now we have this -2 over here with it, so we're going to do the opposite of -2, and we're going to add 2 to both sides, thus canceling those out and leaving b all by itself on the right side. And -9 plus 2 will be -7, and then we can switch those around and say b equals -7. So what were the steps that we used? The first step is always given, and then we used the addition property of equality, and then we simplified, and then to switch these around we use the symmetric property of equality. So there's the solution for number 41. Number 42 says 4/3 equals 2/9 h. I'm just going to rewrite this problem over here so I have a little more room to work. So the h is our variable, so we want to get that by itself. But right now we have this 2/9 being multiplied by it. So we're going to divide both sides by 2/9. But really when you divide a fraction, don't you multiply by the reciprocal? So I'm actually going to multiply both sides by 9/2. And when I do that, we'll notice the 2's cancel, the 9's cancel, and h is left all by itself. So that on the left side we have a 9 and a 3 that can reduce to 3 and 1. And a 2 and a 4 that can reduce to 1 and 2. And the values we have left are 3 and 2, and then a couple of 1's down there, so 3 times 2 is 6. And then we'll just switch the order and say h equals 6 for our solution. So the steps that we used to solve this were, given is always the first one, and then we use the multiplication property of equality. And remember, we can abbreviate the property of equality with POE, but make sure you're spelling out multiplication, or in the last example we used addition. And then after a property of equality, we're going to simplify. And then the last one that we did was the symmetric. So we use the symmetric property of equality to turn that guy around and put that variable on the left side where we like to see him, so we say h equals 6. And that's the solution for 42. Number 43 is similar to the last example, where we have a value multiplied by our variable and it equals something else. So, like I did last time, I'm going to rewrite it so I have a little more room to work. And we have -4/5 j equals -16/45. And like we did last time, we had this -4/5 being multiplied, so we're going to divide both sides by -4/5. But recall, again, when you're dividing by a fraction, you're really multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by -5/4. And in this case, you must use the negative, because then the negatives cancel, and the 5's cancel, and the 4's cancel, and j is all by itself now. So on the right side, the negatives cancel, the 16 and the 4 can go to 4 and 1, and the 45 and the 5 can go to 9 and 1. So it appears that j is going to be a positive 4/9 for the solution for number 43. And I'll slide it over and jot the steps down. The first step is always given, and then we use the multiplication property again. And then we use simplify. And then the variable is already on the left, so we're not worried about anything else. So j equals 4/9, and that's the solution to 43. Number 44 has f divided by 5 equals a -4. So, like I've been doing, I'm going to rewrite it so I have a little more room to work. And our f is being divided by 5, and so the opposite of division is multiply, so I'm going to multiply both sides by the 5. Again, the reason is so these 5's cancel, and my f, or my variable, is left all by itself. And a -4 times 5 makes -20. So my solution is f equals -20. And as we've been doing, our first step is given. Our second step, again, was the multiplication property of equality. And then our final step was simplify. and that's the solution for 44. Number 45 is negative 1/7 times a variable n equals 2. So, since the coefficient of our variable here, what we're being multiplied by, is negative 1/7, so the reciprocal of that is negative 7 over 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 7. And 7's cancel, negatives cancel, so n is left all by itself. And 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. So our value is n equals negative 14. And we have given. And like we've been doing, actually all these examples here except the first one were the multiplication property of equality. And then simplify. So there's the solution for number 45, n equals negative 14. As we're continuing along, the next little bit, 46 through 50, says to solve and graph each one-step inequality. So we're not concerned with writing the steps that we use this time, we're just concerned with solving the inequality and then graphing it. So a plus 4 is less than negative 5. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And when I do that, these 4's over here cancel, and I have a is less than negative 9, because a negative 5 minus 4, they're both negative, so I'm going to add it and keep the sign of the negative. So a equals negative 9. And then I'm going to go ahead and graph it. Remember, always put the number that you care about in the middle. This negative 9 here is going to drop down and be in the middle. And then we're going to go one number to the right, and then one number to the left. So our number line will read negative 10, negative 9, negative 8. It'll be an open circle because it's less than, and then it's going to go to the left. So I'm going to shade or fill this in a little bit, kind of darken that circle so we know we're headed to the left. So the solution for 46 is a is less than negative 9, and our graph is an open circle at negative 9 with a line extending indefinitely to the left. In number 47, we have a negative 7 plus c is greater than or equal to 8. So in order to get c all by itself, we're going to add 7 to both sides, and these 7's over here will cancel. We're left with c greater than or equal to 8 plus 7, which is 15. So there's our solution, and then we're going to graph it. So the number that goes in the middle is 15, because that's our value here that we care about. We'll go one value to the right, one value to the left, and then since it's greater than or equal to, it'll be a closed circle, since now we have an equal to right there. And then it's going to go off to the right because it's greater than. So we'll kind of darken in the triangle and the arrow there, and then we'll also shade the line. So the solution for 47 is c is greater than or equal to 15, and it's a closed circle at 15 with a line extending indefinitely to the right. Number 48 reads, negative 35 is not equal to 7g. So in order to get this g by itself, we've got to divide by 7, and the 7's will cancel. So g is over there, and the not equal to negative 5 is on the left. So we can use the symmetric property, and we can switch them around and say g is not equal to negative 5. And that would be our solution right there. So we put negative 5 in the middle, and we go one number to the right and one number to the left. And when we have not equal to 5, we put an open circle at negative 5. And then we actually extend the line in both directions because our inequality is telling us it can be anything, but it can't be negative 5. So that's why we have the open circle at negative 5. But it could be anything else, so we're going to shade in both the other directions, right and left. So the solution for 48 is g is not equal to negative 5, and we have an open circle at negative 5 with lines extending indefinitely in both directions. Number 49 is negative 4.2 is greater than negative 0.6 m. So since we have this negative 0.6 m being multiplied, we're going to divide both sides by negative 0.6. When we do that, the business over here on the right will cancel out and we're left with m, but recall that when you divide or multiply an inequality by a negative, you have to switch the sign of the equality. So instead of being greater than, it's going to be less than right here. And then negative 4.2 divided by negative 0.6 is going to be 7. But we want to switch these around, so we're going to put m is greater than 7. And when we switch them, we'll actually switch the sign of the equality again. So it's m is greater than 7. So then we're going to graph m is greater than 7. So we put 7 in the middle. We go one number to the right, one number to the left. It's going to be an open circle at 7, and we're going to be heading over to the right. So fill in the arrow and shade the line. So the solution for 49 is m is greater than 7, and we have an open circle at 7 with a line extending indefinitely to the right. The final problem in this set, number 50, is 6.5p is greater than or equal to negative 1.3. So 6.5 is being multiplied by the p, so we're going to divide both sides by 6.5. Our 6.5's cancel, and we have p is greater than or equal to negative 0.2. Because 1.3 divided by 6.5 will be 0.2, and it's a negative divided by positive, so the negative stays. So that's our solution, and then let's graph this thing. So in the middle we have negative 0.2. When we go 1 to the right, it'll be negative 0.1, and 1 to the left will be negative 0.3. And now we have a closed circle at 0.2, since we have the equal business right there. And then we have a line extending to the right because it's greater than. So I'm going to fill in the arrow, shade the line, and I have for a solution p is greater than or equal to negative 2/10. And my closed circle is at negative 2/10 with a line extending indefinitely to the right. So that completes that set of 10.